Welcome to Small Potatoes,
where we give you a naughty tease of our latest Patreon episode.
Be sure to subscribe. Links are in the description.
Riley, what are we doing today?
We are going to watch and react to a segment from a podcast from A Girl's Gotta Eat. And they're talking about couples, sleeping dynamics, sex, quality of sleep. There's a lot tied into where you sleep at night or where you rest your head. So let's watch the video together and have some discussion.
I love it. The big question, at least it's been in my personal life. Separate bedrooms or not separate bedrooms? Let's go.
We do have a survey that was conducted in 2021 that says only 2/3 of Americans want to share a bed with their romantic partner. It's kind of stunning, like how many people actually don't want to do this.
Totally.
And sleep experts, the ones that I spoke to were like, I have no concerns about this. The relationship experts I spoke to had no concerns. The people that did seem to have concerns were sex therapists and couples therapists.
Okay.
But the actual like neuroscientists were like, no, better sleep leads to better sex, better intimacy.
My least favorite type of sex is get into bed, pajamas on, and then have sex.
Yeah.
It is the least spontaneous. It's the least sexy. We do it. It's great. It's intimate. But that is my least favorite type of sex.
Yeah.
Is ready for bed sex.
Yeah.
But then Raina, she made a point. She's like, but I love morning sex, which you lose a little bit of that. But you creep into his bed in the morning, you slip in there. But to me, I'm like, sex and sleep are different. I mean, sleep, you're unconscious. Like there was a quote in your article that was like, what do I care what we do when we're unconscious?
Yeah.
I love that quote. So I think it's funny that plays into it. People associate getting in the bed and sleeping with sex. And I don't really.
So I love this topic because I have some big opinions about it.
No.
But I felt like, right. Aren't we surprised? Me? Yeah, they're huge opinions, actually. I feel like they touched on many like great talking points or like subjects, and yet it's felt very convoluted to me, as if like they're kind of mixing concepts together, or even like different professionals expecting the same responses or results from these completely polar opposite therapists and experts. I was just like, wait, what? Like, hold on, pause. Like, back up. Y'all are confusing me and maybe yourselves or something. Like, I don't know how the rest of the discussion went. We're obviously just reacting to that clip, but I'm not surprised about the stat of 2/3 of people either wanting or not. What did I say? Want to share a bed. I think that's a little. A wonderful thought. I think there's 2/3 of people want to share a bed, but do they share a bed might be a completely different statistic, right? And I think in our world, in the adult industry, you hear so many stories from men, and that goes across all positions. So us as owners, the ladies as attendants, the managers at front desk, we get the inquiries, we get the initial point of contact, right? We get the questions, we get the lengthy emails, the heartfelt stories of people that have been in sexless relationships, that live in separate bedrooms, sometimes separate floors. You know, he lives in the basement kind of vibe. And we see firsthand, day in and day out, by the dozens and dozens, of how ineffective that is at maintaining healthy relationships. But I think as much as somebody might want to sleep with someone, sleeping beside other humans is chaotic just in and of itself, right? Think of when you're a kid and you go to your first sleepover party. Okay, there's excitement and you stay up too late, but nobody comes back like well rested. Your kid's a nightmare the next day because they got no sleep. They not got no REM. Like there's no quality in there. They're going to be recovering for 3 days and a shitty student on Monday. Like it's just the way it's going to go. When you have two young kids that, let's say, share a bedroom and they're sneaking into each other's beds at night, or like one's crawling out of the crib and breaking out of jail, like that whole that's chaotic sleep. If a mom is constantly sleeping with her toddler and not going back to her adult bed, she's having interrupted chaotic sleep. Like to cohabitate with someone in that manner is, of course, a sleep expert is going to say, this is not great, but if being in the spare room means you get your 8 hours in, then yay. Yeah. Because sure, you're analyzing it from the neuroscience aspect of sleep quality. You're not talking about the relationship or the reality or the functionality of the human the next day. So yes, in concept, a great sleep could lead to more energy for sex or for all your things the next day.
Yeah.
Ask anyone who gets up early to go to the gym and sacrifices that extra hour of sleep. They don't wake up bursting with gym energy. Like, let's be real here, right? It's got to balance. It's got to be realistic. And so I'm not at all surprised that couples and sexologists and sex therapists were like, yeah, no, that's not a flex. That's not going to help your relationship. If you want to sleep alone, be alone. Like, it's just,
Right.
and I feel like it sounds very like form and final, but exactly, period. Like, that is the statement, right? And
Yeah.
I know it's controversial.
I'm so mixed on it because I think a lot of couples, and I can speak for myself as well, I probably have had the least amount of sex in my bed. The kitchen is highly utilized. But I mean, different parts of you will never look at my kitchen island again if I told you some stories. Anyways, I don't think the bed is where sex needs to happen. And especially when I'm tired and about to fall asleep. But I think from an intimacy standpoint, it's time to have that, like, it could be a 2-minute conversation or just a sentence. It's just each other's legs, touching each other. There's human contact that keeps you connected as a couple. But I do also think quality of sleep, especially for women, listen, we require more sleep. Like, it's proven. I think to have a quality sleep, that we're doing more. We're business owners, we're mothers, we're doing all the things. And for the men as well, we need to be rested to be the better wife, the mother, the employee, or whatever we're doing during the day. So that is extremely important as well. So I don't think there's a one size fits all answer or for each couple. But I've slept with many disruptive sleepers or men or even children that honestly, for me, I sleep best alone. Do I think if I was ever in a partnership again or married that I would want my own bedroom? Probably not, because I would crave that kind of human connection. But I see pluses to kind of both sides.
It really is about maintaining that intimacy.
Yeah.
And there's almost a primal vulnerability to sleeping next to another human.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, if this were different times and we're, the leaders of the jungle, it is as vulnerable a survival state to be asleep, right? You could be cut right in the jugular and you're done. There's the lion dead in the forest, like not in the forest, jungle, but like it's a trust. It's think of the awkwardness the first time you sleep beside somebody.
Right.
You don't sleep restfully, first of all. At least I never have a first sleepover.
Mm-hmm.
Not only self-consciousness and beauty and all those things, but like it's that like you wake up, you turn over, and there's a human there where you're not expecting a foot to touch your foot, and then it half wakes you up and all those little things. But on that same flip coin, y'all could be in the middle of an argument, which I don't suggest going to bed angry, but let's say you do, or just, put a pause on things and go to bed. It can be physiologically reassuring that your partner leans over and touches you in the middle of the night. It may piss you off mentally because you're still mad at them, but it might slow your heart rate and put you back into a deeper phase of sleep because there's a comfort there. Because of that survival instinct, you build a trust. You trust that this person is not going to take your life. It sounds dramatic, but they're not going to take your life while you're sleeping, while you are unable to defend yourself. It really is a primal instinct that way. So I get why people long for it. It's also one of the few things that separate you. I mean, once you're out of sleepover phase as a kid, it separates you from being a romantic partner to being any other close person. Listen, we have not had sleepovers. I'm sure that would disappoint our audience. We're as close as could be. Now, would I trust that you wouldn't cut me in the jugular when we're sleeping? Of course. But if your foot touched my foot, I'd still be startled because I haven't slept beside a human in years, right? So it's just unique. It is much like sex and intimacy in a marriage or in a committed relationship. It differentiates your other intimate and close connected relationships. And so from my experience, especially, but also what we witness in our day to day, when you start to separate or take out those pieces of connection time, the pillow talk, those little touches, the rollover and cuddles in the middle of the night, the middle of the night sex opportunity that comes up once in a while, all the things, the morning sex that she mentioned, all of those things are part of the connection. It's almost like you got to trade off a little bit of disrupted sleep to have those connections. Now, I've been in 2 sexless relationships, long-term, lived together. One of them, it started because he was the most dreadful snorer you've ever met in your life and refused to do anything about it. And I could not sleep. I already struggled with insomnia. It made it 1,000 times worse. But what started as, one bad night, or he has a cold and therefore I'm not sleeping in that room because it's only going to get worse, a night out where we were drinking together, whatever, that should have ended in cosmic sex and all the drunk stuff the drunk couples like to do, ended with me on the sofa and him in the bedroom. And it's one thing if you have the flu. It's another thing where one night becomes 2 nights become the weekend, 3 nights become the whole week because it's I still got to get up and get the kids to school in the morning and we're too busy. And then who's really making a point to have a sleepover on Saturday? And so you're taking out those things. It builds disconnection. It builds a bit of resentment, because what if the partner on the couch would rather be in the bedroom with their partner? It can create so much extra tension. And yet, I think on the pod a few times I've mentioned that I know couples that live in separate houses that are so happy. But I think for them, the thought of a sleepover means it's us together in bed, and there's an excitement about it. There's a looking forward to it. It's like the dating phase. They're kind of extending and replicating that over and over. So whether it's a random Tuesday, it's a school night, we're having a sleepover, or it's date night and that's how it ends, there's an intention, there's a forethought behind it, which includes deepening that connection with your partner. And so you don't have to sleep in the bed every time, because obviously if you live in 2 separate houses, you're each going to have your own bedrooms and many nights apart. But it adds such positivity to the times that you are together. That's very different than people that sleep on 2 separate floors of the house, or dad's always in, the kid that moved out from college's room and he hasn't been in the master in 16 years. Like, that's a very different set of circumstances and intention behind the relationship, the effort, the thought consciousness behind it. Because let's be real, marriage and love is a daily choice. So you have to choose, and then you have to choose to acknowledge if sleeping in separate rooms is being detrimental to your overall relationship, even if it means you get a better 8 hours in. And I could promise you, on the couch, I never got a better 8 hours in. So where was the payoff on my end? And I don't want to say the norm, the percentage is higher that it's men that are in sexless relationships, right? And so the same for them. They're not having quality sleep on the couch. It's just not a thing. And so who is this bettering? Okay, so wife has a better sleep for 7 hours that night, but then she wakes up to a less effective marriage every single day. And so how is this better here? Of course, sex therapists and couples therapists are saying, no, don't do that to your relationship. Go to get your sleep apnea fix. Like, deal with the root problem instead of causing more disconnect in your relationship.